Would you look at that? I think we're live. A whole minute early. I wonder what was holding us back all of this time from being on time. I don't know.
You
What
know,
could be different? What could be different today?
Vito.
I wasn't going to say it, but geez, throwing Vito under the bus already, new guy. So yeah, this is Cask Strength. Hey, I'm Brad, as per usual, most of the time. Everybody knows Dan from the last time, the newest sort of constant host. I don't know what the titles would be, like whatever. He's here now. Deal with it.
he's the brown ginger.
Sure. And Jeremy stepped in to fill Vito's shoes, this week since he's so busy that he's hanging out in the chat. So I'm not sure what the deal is there, fucking lazy bastard. But hey,
Isn't
Jeremy.
it? It's a diversity hire thing, right? Like you used to have the American on here, now you've got the Australian on here. It's got to mix it up.
Gotta have at least one non-Canadian.
We accept everybody here at Cask Strength.
Apparently, sound and video is just fine according to Vito. So,
right. Did he just dub him? Did he dub himself in as the root cause?
Maybe he's trying. Is he? Vito's trying to get fired. What's going on? It didn't work out very well for me the last time.
That's it. We're going to put him in charge of social media now.
There you go. He sort of already is. He's like all over Instagram and stuff. That guy.
Yep. Cask Strength Vito, for those who want to follow. He, yeah.
Apparently my volume is a little bit low. Let's see if I can tweak that a bit. Okay.
Cool.
So we don't have a ton of plans for this stream other than we're drinking non-age statement whiskeys just for the heck of it. And I'm starting with a little bit of J.P. Weiser's dissertation.
Great dram. I've got Glenfarclas 105 Cask Strength in my glass.
Sweet.
I don't have anything in my glass, but what I should probably do is some Ardbeg. Ugadal.
You could
because
do that, you bastard.
Brad has been so lazy, he still hasn't driven the 30 minutes to go pick up the bottle that he has.
It'll get there, whatever, man. It's just waiting for me. It's not like I don't have enough whiskey hanging around.
And you don't even need to drive that much either. You only need to do about 10 minutes worth of driving for every 30 minutes covered.
Probably not even. It's like 2 minutes on the highway. Yeah.
And your car drives for you, so...
That's what like, as soon as I get to the highway, like, I'm good. It just does all the work, mostly. It's fine.
You just punch in Ugadal into your computer in the car.
It's got voice navigation stuff. I wonder what it would do if like, beep, take me to Ugadal. We'll probably just get very confused. Try to drive to Scotland.
You wake up at the Ardbeg embassy.
Right. That'll take me to the airport or to a ferry terminal or something.
All right.
Anyone else having a hard time hearing Brad? I don't
know. Nicholas was saying he was getting no sound, but oh no, there we go. No, Brad is definitely low on sound.
Definitely low
on
sound. Well, I could
try and drink some sound, Brad, to bring up your sound vitamins.
I'll just I'll up the sound intake here. I turned up the volume a little bit on the mic, so hopefully it's not too bad. We'll find out. I can keep turning it up until people stop complaining eventually. But let me know if I get too loud for you guys on the call. Yep. I don't know.
William hears you fine. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe that you've just got that frequency that the older you get, the harder it is to hear you.
Maybe. Oh. I'll just blame YouTube.
Listen, this is a non-age statement stream, okay? We're not going to bring up age.
That's fair. That's a good call, actually. That's a very valid point. Okay, at least some people seem to be hearing things fine, so I'm guessing just YouTube being weird for people. I don't know. Much we can do about that. Especially since they killed Hangouts on Air, which complicates things.
Well, Vito was saying drop your mic lower, but you turned the volumes up so you could be heard. If you drop them lower, it'd be harder to hear.
It gets complicated.
Ah.
So, Brad, I think you have, in my opinion, probably one of the best Canadian non-age statement whiskeys from the last while.
The dissertation, yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
delicious.
Um, a lot of the other Northern Border collection have age statements. That one's technically not Northern Border collection, but it's one of the rare cask, I guess you call them.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely phenomenal. Even the seasoned oak has an age statement on it.
It does.
Oh,
I don't know if I've ever noticed that.
Yeah, I believe it's 19 years, and if you give me a second, I will confirm that. Yes, 19 years is the seasoned oak, says right on the bottle.
There you go.
So that is probably, aside from a few of the older ones, like the Lost Barrels and whatnot, that is probably the best non-age statement from the Rare Cask series.
Right.
now Vito from the chat uh, has made a very good point. Dan Butt. That's the first Dan Butt on the stream. So actually, that's the first appearance of Dan's butt.
There you go.
I decided, you guys are lucky I'm wearing pants.
It's optional. It's all optional around here. It's fine.
At
As
least
long as
one
it
of the
doesn't
hosts
get us kicked off YouTube, anything goes. He's been officially initiated, says Vito in the chat. That's right.
Yep.
Okay, so Steve A's got, for his non-age statement, I guess he's joining us with some Glendronach Cask Strength Batch 7.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, I have not had that.
I don't think I've had that either.
And Dan Sullivan, yes, you are correct. No stinking pants. At least 2 of the 3 mods. Oh wow! I can guarantee you that the current mod doesn't.
Factual.
Not sure if for Brad and myself is. We'll keep that secret to ourselves.
Jeffrey Patron is saying, hello, Canadians, and Jeremy.
Hey, Jeff.
Fair.
Sorry I missed you on your recent trip. Really wanted to catch up, but it was not in the cards for me.
Oh, yeah, he was over in Toronto.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep.
It looked like a really good little mini hangout from some of the photos that got posted. So
Yeah, and I'm guessing that you guys managed not to get a strip torn off you by the owner of the bar, which is always a plus.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's always good when you don't get yelled at.
Yeah, but I guess when Adam's not there to take the heat, it's not really worth it.
It's fair. What are people talking about in the chat now? Oh, Patrick is talking about you getting demoted to host, Jeremy.
Yep.
That's good. Yeah.
Nicholas is talking about no filtering the whiskey through fur.
I mean, no judgments, you know. Whatever
Who knows
floats your
what
boat.
he's doing? When he's not
Yep.
on camera, he could be doing anything. Every dram he pours tonight is probably filtered through hair.
Probably.
It's all it's all luged. All
Oh, jeez.
it's front or back. That's the question.
Ugh.
Scary.
Oh, and Steve A's back from his timeout, which is fantastic. Because Vito's new name is Pooney.
It has been confirmed in 2 different live streams now that.
Would this be the third then?
I guess this is the 3rd confirmation. So yeah, that must make it official and legal and everything, right? That's how that works.
Motion's passed. Pooney is now Vito. Yep. So you can follow Vito at Car Strength Pooney on Instagram.
Oh boy, that would be funny if it was true. Wait a second, it probably can be true. Yeah.
He's in charge of social media. He can make that happen.
Vito doesn't approve, but that just makes it funnier, so it's not going to work.
Donald Rance is also doing some Glenfarclas 105 for his NAS. Is that the cask strength, Donald, or is that the regular? I've got the cask strength going, and it is fantastic. Because cask strength.
Mm.
Good call.
Ooh. And Patrick was saying, yeah, Vito will be doing luges in Austin regardless of what he says. And I believe that too, Patrick. From what I understand, the videos from last year, I will never do a body shot luge again. A luge will never happen. No, I'm never doing a luge again. And then it happened again.
Yeah, that's there's definitely an above 0% chance of it happening. I don't know what the odds are exactly, but
Yep.
it's not zero.
With enough encouragement, pats on the back, and inspiration, I'm sure that whiskey will flow over Vito.
Spencer have just jumped in and is very lost, and that's fair, Spencer. That is an appropriate response to this stream, I think.
The man has innocence.
Welcome to whatever this is.
Yeah.
That is a good point, Steve A. I actually do think the 105 is always cask strength.
Oh, is it?
I think so. I'm not super experienced with it. It's actually the first bottle of Glenfarclas that I have had. Quick bit of info for me, for those of you that don't know me. I was a predominantly bourbon guy before I met Brad and a few of the other Canadian bastards. And now I have more Scotch in my collection than I do bourbon. So...
Success!
Yeah, and I started going straight into peat. So I'm kind of just getting into Speyside and Highland. And while I've had a lot... I'm not as experienced with some distilleries, so I'm spreading out and trying to get that experience under the belt.
Fair enough. It's good to go for variety, and spread out, and it just makes you appreciate things even more when you go back to it after a while of experimenting with other things. So
big time.
It's always good.
Still a peated guy though. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, I always end up going back to the peat.
So
every time.
I love the peat. So just reading, John Belushi was asking whether it was Canadian or Canadian. And then Vito has corrected everyone, and it's Candian. Camden Ian is the correct pronunciation of Canadian Stanleys. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what we could do, because we professionally laid out everything in scripted form months in advance of tonight's stream. Went through meetings.
Did I forget to read the script again? Oh
well. We had Dan on last week for his first, not last week, but last stream for his inauguration, Death by Fire, and he survived. So we should learn a little bit more about Dan. So he comes from bourbon. He then grew out of that stage, became an adult, and enjoyed some peated whiskies.
Sure, yeah. That seems right.
What about a little bit of his background? So we know Brad's a demigod, and we know Brad's kind of introductory into whiskey. What about yourself, Dan?
So I've never traditionally been a drinker. So even in my high school party years and all of that, was never big into drinking much. Beer or liquor just wasn't really my thing. But as I got a little older, a few of my friends who always had wild turkey on Thanksgiving, Turkey Day. And on one of these turkey days, I participated in having some wild turkey. There was some 101 there. And it was the first time that I had, picked up notes from alcohol more than just alcohol burn. So I picked myself up a book actually on whiskey, started reading about it. And once I found out how it was made and where it came from, I became more interested. Picked up a couple of different bottles of bourbon, and it kind of went pretty quick from there. I still have some bottles I've had for a few years. I'd say 2014 was probably when I really started appreciating whiskey. And there was a point when I probably had everything that the LCBO had to offer in the way of bourbon.
That wouldn't take all that long.
No, we don't have a massive selection, although it's getting a little better, but still pretty pricey, and all the good stuff is available via Lotto. So started keeping a journal, and then I found the Whiskey Tribe, of course, through Vault videos. And then through the tribe, I met Brad and Adam Brudner and David Kramer and Vito and Mike, Sniper Mac. And after the first meet, I was instantly just taken to a whole nother level. Brad spoiled me with some Black Art 4.1, and it was pretty much a door that just opened right up into Scotch, and steamrolled my way into Pete from there, because he also gave me Ardbeg 23 in the same evening, and it just opened up from there, exploded into Scotch, and since then I've had many drams. As you can see behind me, I don't know how well the camera picks it up, I've got a lot of different samples. I've got definitely over 110, 120 different whiskeys here in some form. And yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. I still don't enjoy drinking that much volume. We have a kind of thing known as haze pours, which is basically about that much in a Glencairn. Just enough to taste.
Lets you try more things, so that works.
Absolutely. Finally, he says my name, Vito. I should be second, he says.
So vain.
And look, haze pause just prevents you from becoming hazy, so it's all good.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's correct.
John Belushi is asking, is it just me or is Whittington an acquired taste? And Charles Ashworth said, I've never tasted him, so I'll have to take your word for it, which is got to be the most appropriate answer.
Fair. That's fair.
Look, I've not met Whittington. I'm assuming you mean Daniel, and not another Whittington.
Brad Whittington, his dad is great, is hilarious. I don't know about Daniel, but Brad Whittington.
Greg Whittington's a cool dude. I don't think he's any relation though. But yeah, I dare say the man has got some damn good knowledge, and you're only being exposed to him in a very narrow sort of a field. Outside of that, the guy's got some accomplishments, and aside from presenting in his format, he seems to be a very interesting and a dude who is very interested in other people. So, yeah, that's how I take it. I'd really like to have a drink with him at some point.
October.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
You got to get over here. It's got to happen.
That's it. Got to get partners' passports sorted.
Yeah,
so that's the kicker.
Regardless of whether you like what he does or how he does it, if you're in the Whiskey Tribe, you have to thank him for that. Obviously, Rex is a part of that too, but I'll be completely honest, I am so far behind on Vault videos and Tribe videos, but just having been a part of the Tribe itself and what it's done for my life and the friends that I've met is thanks to Daniel and Rex. So it's not just necessarily who they are, but it is what they do. And
he approaches things in a very admirable way. So whenever there has been criticism, unlike a lot of people who would defend their position or go, listen here, mate, this is how it is or whatever, he will take the time out to sit with them and spend the time.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, the tribe has a Patreon.
Looks like I need a refill, and since Jeremy was teasing me with
Oh, did you get it?
Uh-oh.
Did you?
I'm gonna
Good man.
have to just bring out the Dark Cove committee release
Oh.
because
You
it
evil-
is non-age statement, so it counts,
That's evil, man.
and
It's evil.
it just has to be done. Jeremy knows that I don't have Ugadal, and I haven't in a while, but I'm pretty sure that Jeremy doesn't have any of this.
No, I don't. But okay, so here's the thing, everyone. He does have a bottle of Ugadol. It is sitting at someone else's premises in
True.
one
It's
of
about a half
Brad's
hour away.
many stashes.
Vito saying
says-
flex, Brad. Just because it's Jeremy. Normally I wouldn't care, but because it's Jeremy, I had to do it.
And Patrick's saying that Christina will hear that pour and show up shortly.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't be the first time, right? So
Don't want to alarm you, Brad, but behind you.
so good. I can see behind me in the camera, Jeremy. You can't
Well,
fool me with that.
in
Oh,
a
it's so
meager attempt to counter that Dark Cove, which certainly doesn't hold a candle to, but just for the sake of balance, I'm going to have some Lafroig quarter cask.
Nice. That's
Pour some Dr. Pepper in it quick. Good call, Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick, go to the chat. Put some Dr. Pepper in it. I
We
mean,
have plans.
yes, I could do that, but I do not want to get stabbed. Plus, I just want to enjoy it on its own.
But you enjoyed the Ugadal with Dr. Pepper.
It's like-
You also enjoyed the
Yeah,
Pappy
yes,
Van
it would
Winkle
be
with Dr.
amazing.
Pepper.
It's like bacon wrapped in smoked Gouda. So, like, it's weird. Oh, that's...
Rub it in. I'm still waiting for, I think it was Chris, who had the sample of drum, and I won that competition, and I'm still waiting for Vito to sort out shipping for that.
Oh, yeah.
David Kramer says to Brad, 2 words, no name.
Yes, there may be another very small Brad stash happening in the very near future. Apparently, there's some no name in my future again. Finally, since I finished my bottle before I knew that it would be disappearing and didn't get myself back.
David Kramer is another one of the
Hero.
group. He is. He's a great guy, Dave, who is also quite responsible for my exposure to wonderful Scotch.
Oh yeah, Vito is in the chat, reminding us that it is Josh's birthday today.
It was
So-
yesterday.
Yesterday?
Time zones do.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Okay, sure. Yeah. It is currently his birthday where he is. So happy
So-
birthday, Josh.
I
Happy
waited.
birthday, Josh. Happy birthday, buddy. All the best. Hope you're enjoying yourself.
I waited till I think it was roughly his midnight yesterday. So my time yesterday, midnight his time, to wish him happy birthday, just because time zones make it easier for me to be a bum.
Sure. Oh, Charles Ashworth doesn't have any whiskey to drink. That's a real shame.
Charles, this one's for you, buddy. Cheers. That is a shame.
Cheers.
I'm not going to share, Charles. I'm just mean.
Typical Aussie bastard.
Oh yes. I probably should have saved
Hey, John
the
V
quarter
just says
cask.
F, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But all right.
He's following the chat.
It's an appropriate response to the comment.
It's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So what else are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, what is your if you had to choose based on what you've had, if you had to only drink age stated or non-age stated for the rest of your lives, what would you choose?
You know what? I'd go non-age statement purely because that opens you up to the plethora of blends.
This is true. Very little blends are age stated.
It's true. Could we take age statement whiskeys and blend them and still have it count as non-age statement so that we could drink the blend?
Oh, ooh, that's a tricky one. I'm wondering.
Can we make our own non-age statement blends?
I know that Compass Box obviously discloses all of the separate whiskeys that are in their blends. Do they disclose the age?
Generally,
sometimes.
I mean,
So
when they're messing with them, like the 3-year-old blended stuff, when they're just messing with the system, they do. But I don't think they do all the time. They disclose as much as they legally can, but often they can't be super specific because of laws and things. They often give like the general location of where a whiskey is from, even if it's like one town where you definitely know what distillery it is.
Right. Yeah. That's like the North Star, Island Star saying they could disclose where the whiskey came from, but it would be awkward.
Yeah. So as Patrick, who is another demigod, I think his powers are still current. So the Tobias and the Angel, they disclosed the age on one of them, but on the other one they didn't. They just said it was significantly older. Geez, Brad's glitching there. I don't know if it showed up for everyone. No, okay.
Glitch in the Matrix. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Yep. No.
Ooh, I like Vito's comment there. He needs to get Brad a few tattoos, apparently, to keep up with me.
Brad's got tattoos.
So
he just
tattoos.
has them on. He's just got them on places that you wouldn't normally view.
Well, then we need to see more of that on screen, I think, is what Vito's getting at.
I told you, nothing that could get us kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah. He's tattooed.
Don't show them on stream.
Yeah. He's got a tattoo on his bum, on his left arse cheek, that just says your name here. He's been using it to get drinks for years. I'm not supposed to tell people that, am I?
See them apparently, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. No worries.
So, Brad, what was your verdict on the age stated versus non-age stated?
I would.
You thought you got it
non-age statement stuff too. Yeah.
See, and
that's
it's a really
stuff is non-age statement.
But then your favorite stuff is like Dreamcast is a
but
an
age
statement.
15 isn't. I mean, it's old.
True.
It's not age stated. Like they tell you how old it is, like, but it's not on the bottle. It's not an age statement whiskey.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier. If it doesn't say it on the bottle, if you do some investigating and find out what it is, I mean, technically they are stating the age if the information is disclosed from the distillery. But as far as I'm concerned, if it's not on the bottle itself.
Right. And Charles Ashworth in chat is saying definitely non-age statement is more possibilities, which, I mean, I'm all about variety, right? So
yeah,
you open the door to a lot more stuff.
See, I would want to agree because, again, as a guy with a bourbon background, not too many bourbons have age statements.
And the ones that do are way overpriced generally.
Oh, big time.
Not always necessarily, but like as a stereotype, they're definitely up there.
But I am on a big independent bottler kick right now, and they're all age stated, and I would really hate to give up the independent bottlings.
See, age statement is a wonderful way to explore, especially if they're treating the whiskey the same, if they're aging the whiskey the same way. It's a wonderful way to explore what age is doing in a certain region. Like, I think that's one of the things that the Iron Root Evolution bottling is just a fantastic idea. In my mind, you've got a spirit getting bottled, at year 3 and year 4 and year 5. It's the same spirit in the same barrel, and the only thing that's changing is time and headspace.
Right.
And being able to compare the differences is and you can't do that with a non-age statement whiskey. You don't get that. Here's the 10-year-old. Here's the 15-year-old. Here's the 17-year-old. You don't have that comparison to see what magic certain woods do or climates do or anything like that.
True.
You are giving that up, but non-age statement. Well, as I said, you're just opening yourself up to such a massive variety. So it depends on where your nerddom lays.
The Steve A in the chat is saying me and Elijah Craig Barrel Proof would like to disagree. I didn't think that was an age statement. I could be wrong.
I don't think it is.
Patrick, I don't think there is any Aussie woods that are used in aging.
Not yet.
Not,
You never know.
Okay,
yeah,
so apparently the ECBP does have a 12-year statement.
Years.
See, not a bourbon person. So I mean, I have tried that and it's delicious, but it hadn't occurred to me that it was an age statement. Interesting.
I do not have a bottle, Steve. I have a sample in my vast sample rack behind me from Barrel.
Okay, so it's more like Eagle Rare, which is technically a 10-year, even though nobody refers to it like that, and it only says it like on the back in a little thing.
Yeah. Green Spot, Chateau, Loville, Barton. Oh, I haven't had any of those special green spots. But and Blackheart. Yeah, Blackheart is definitely age stated.
It is. Not in very large print. Like, you have to look on the bottle for it, but it does have the age, whatever it is.
Yeah, I've found that with a lot of Bruichladdich. They've got the age statement in small print. On the Port Charlotte MCO1, the age statement is not only in small print, but it is the same color as the label, so it's really hard to see.
Right.
They certainly aren't drawing attention to it while they are stating the age. They're not making a point to blow it out like Port PC10.
Right.
It's kind of for some markets, like obviously you go to Isla, you can put crap in a barrel for 20 years, proudly put 20 years on the barrel, and it is fantastic, right? The product that's coming out of the barrel is fantastic. The amount of angel share is negligible in comparison to, say, something that if you were to whack it in, a Kentucky distillery in a rick house that doesn't collapse for 20 years, if you can manage to find one of those, your angel share is just murdering the amount of liquid that's left in the barrel after 20 years. And realistically, to be fair, you would need to compare it to something like a 50-year Isla, just in terms of the amount of cycles that it's going in and out of the wood and everything like that. So bourbon, you don't see it often, and the number that you see isn't very high. And I wonder if that's part of the marketing side of it. They go, well, we're not going to put a high number on it, so prominent as you would have like a 50-year-old Mizunara from Japan, because it means something completely different. Like, that number is lower. It means something different, even though the results are similar-ish.
Right.
Big time.
And then you get stuff like from Texas where it's like 18 months, and you wouldn't want it aged more than that because it already tastes like beer. So they mean very different things, and the age is not necessarily comparable across the board, so a lot of places, they just don't worry about it.
And then, of course, if you get one of those massive sherry butts, which is 600 and something odd litres of liquid, versus a quarter cask, then the sherry butt you can leave to age for an awful lot longer to get a similar wood note as a smaller one. Yeah.
Anything that's hard to compare between whiskeys like that tends to just be a marketing decision. Like, it is what it is. It doesn't necessarily mean anything to do with the quality. So if you're going for mass market, maybe you put it on if you want it to appeal to a certain demographic. If you're going for the nerds, you probably don't care as much because they don't care as much because it doesn't have to do with quality. Just depends on your target.
Yeah, I've seen a few posts One was that Survivor man, Les Stroud, who is a Scotch fan, had a picture of the Lafroig 10 tube talking about recycling it. Some of them did share it in the tribe. And on the actual post on Les's page, there was a lot of people saying, oh, couldn't you have gone for a 12-year or a 15-year? Which sparked up a big debate, actually. Not so much a debate as an education, if you will, from people that did know their whiskey, saying age isn't everything. Besides the fact that Lafroig doesn't make a 12-year. Someone brought up the quarter cask and how they enjoy it much more than the 10, which I do personally. Yeah. And that's a perfect example of a non-age statement and an age statement going against each other, if you will. It's interesting how a lot of people that aren't super educated or super experienced with whiskeys have that notion of older is better. And it's a very common one that I come across actually when I'm talking to people about whiskey who aren't super experienced.
See, it's not unfair to say that older is better, but only if you're comparing it within the same distillery.
Certainly, right. Certainly.
You know, because with so many different factors, it's just pointless. Like, if you left a Texas whiskey in the same size, quarter cask barrel as Lafroig, there wouldn't be very much left, and what you had left, you probably would want to drink.
It would be more like molasses. It would be
yeah.
You've heard of fortified wine? Well, this is fortified whiskey.
Vito is asking what our least favorite non-age statement is, and Sniper Mac in the chat accurately predicted mine as Canadian Mist.
Is Windex a non-age statement whiskey?
Technically, no, it's not made from grain.
I'd have to go with a lot of probably a lot of the 40% mass-produced Canadians for my least favorite non-age statement. Canadian Club I really don't enjoy very much. It's not horrible stuff, but it's not the best. Canadian Mist certainly is not super great. There's a long list of non-age statements that I really do not enjoy.
I mean, Vito has a whole box of them at his place. I mean,
he does. He loves the stuff. I've seen the proof.
He's got like 30 or 40 bottles of that nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay, so my least favorite would have to be VAT 69.
Okay, sure.
But I've got to give those bottom shelf blends their due credit, because Teachers is a really hit and miss blend, and that depends on who's in charge. I have had some really good Teachers 20 years ago, and then 12 years ago Teachers was disgusting. I haven't had it recently, so yeah. Next to, I'm not even sure if it was technically whiskey, but it was imported as whiskey, was something called Mississippi Moonshine, which was you had to put Coke in it to cut the sweetness. It was disgusting. It tasted like windshield washer fluid, brake fluid, and rubbing alcohol. It was just, and sugar, like tons and tons of sugar. Great stuff.
I'm just taking a quick zip through my notes to find you what my least favorite non-age statement Scotch has been.
It's very professional. Notes and everything.
Oh, so professional. If you read these, you would just be amazed.
So question, Vito, have you found the bottle yet?
Don't get him started on this. He can't.
You know what?
He's not on the stream to defend himself. Like, come on.
Well, that's it. Like, he's not on the stream to ask us. So
My least favorite non-age statement Scotch is probably Jura Superstition.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
All right.
And it's again, it's not the worst I've had, but I was expecting a lot more, and when you go into something expecting a lot more and it's not what you expected. Like my whiskey in one word at the bottom of the page was disappointment.
Yikes. That's fair.
And I do remember having that, and I have the Prophecy, and it is spectacular. I really enjoy that. But the Superstition was a big letdown for me. And off the top of my head, probably, and by off the top of the head, I mean after looking through my notes, my least favorite.
Was that based off just a sample, or was it one of those things that you had the bottle and it was just disappointment and tears the whole way through?
I had a half bottle of it.
Yep.
I did spend time. I learned so when I first had Lafroy Quarter Cask, I really disliked it. It was too peaty. It was very ashtray. I just got overwhelmed by the peat and really did not enjoy it. And the first time I wrote notes on Quarter Cask, it was like a 4 out of 10. Now it is, for me, an 8 out of 10. I love it. It's one of my favorite peated whiskeys. So I'm definitely someone who gives a lot of chances to a bottle, and I do know that it can air out a lot when it oxidizes. It can make it better or worse. I give it that chance. But I also, in a lot of cases, I do only have a sample with. But 2 ounces for me is 4 really good-sized pours. And what I will do is I will have some from a sample, and then I will wait quite a while because all the whiskeys I have in between, as my palate becomes more experienced, it does change. So I will give a lot of time to a whiskey, and I never fully judge it on one tasting alone, which I do think is a fault of a lot of people, even myself in the past. You taste something one time and you're like, oh, that's horrible. I'm out. It's bad. I'm never going to try it again. And in some cases, like if you're in a pub and you have a pour, that bottle may have been sitting there 3/4 empty for a year before you've had any. So you got to give them a fair shake and spend some time on it and try some oxidized and non-oxidized, I think, to give it a fair shake.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, Vito in the chat is saying that his least favorite non-age statement is White Walker, which shouldn't be surprising for anybody who saw the 1,000 sub stream that we did a while back.
So does that mean that he prefers Crown Royal and Mist and Hunter?
I guess so.
I mean, it would explain the Crown Royal collection.
It would.
Do you guys want to know something awesome? I've never tried White Walker.
Vito's got some. Cool.
I've got. That's
Yeah.
what that's
I'm sure
what
he
you
would
guys are
happily
for.
give you some.
Send
That's what you
Vito,
guys
send
are
Dan. Send Dan a whole bottle, man. Like, find that bottle that was messed with, send it to Dan.
Yeah, Steve says no great loss. I know, Steve. That's what these guys are for. I just sit back and wait, and then I know what's good and I know what's poor, and usually the good stuff gets shared with me.
If it helps, I've not had any White Walker either. The advantage is I know Vito can't ship it.
You gotta test for yourself sometimes. Everyone's taste is different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just because one
still-
person doesn't like something doesn't mean it's not going to be amazing for you.
Yep. Still in Canada. He's drunk one bottle. He's still got a whole other bottle to drink. Of White Walker.
Hey, Mark.
He liked
by the
it.
way.
He liked it so much he bought 2.
Yes, that's why.
He claims it was a gift from someone. Vicious lie, man. He paid overpriced for it.
Nicholas says his first pour of Redbreast 12 was at a pub and it was horrible. And after watching the vault, he gave it another try and it was magical.
Yep. Well, I think I had that with the Talisker Dark Storm, and so did you, Brad. That it just fell off a cliff at a certain point.
Vito was saying that, that his bottle of Dark Storm just suddenly, all of a sudden, just tanked to nothing.
Yep.
So I'm drinking mine quickly to make sure that doesn't happen.
And sometimes, depending on the sort of the pub you're at, I've had it where they're using the same jigger as they've done Ouzo or some other whiskey in there. I'm not saying Ouzo's a whiskey, and the result is definitely not a reflection of that whiskey by any stretch of the imagination. So that can also be a big factor as well as what they've used, what pouring spout and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Yep, big time. That's another one of those factors, right?
A lot of times, like a pub and stuff, some of them will just leave a pour spout like on overnight or indefinitely for weeks at a time or whatever. Like, it could really affect the taste of what's coming out of that bottle. So pubs and bars and stuff are very hit and miss with that kind of thing. Unless they're very sort of whiskey specific and know what they're doing, it can be tricky.
And sometimes they can surprise you. Like they may pour a neat in a rocks glass with ice in it, but there may be enough turnover of good whiskies just with that clientele that the bottle's always fresh as well. Like it's
very hit or miss. Like you shouldn't trust a pour out at a bar necessarily to be an accurate reflection of what the bottle is like.
And unless you have a good rapport and are at that bar frequently.
Well, I'm due for a refill.
All right, what are you going for?
I am actually going to go for an American non-age statement. This is E.H. Taylor Rye. It is one of my favorite ryes.
I'm going to go...
Nice one.
I've been practicing all week. I'm going to go the Teeling single grain because it's just buttery popcorn and gorgeousness.
Solid choice. I'm going to go with the Talisker, but not the 1985. I'm going to go with the 57 North.
Nice. Ooh, good squeaks all around.
Yeah. I'm going to have to get another bottle of this pretty soon. Damn Talisker. I go through it too quickly.
I forgot there are certain whiskies, quite often when they're pot stilled as well, when you're coming off a peated whiskey and you go to it, you get all that coconut funky stuff happening, like coconut and cherry and vanilla.
Yeah, big time. One of my last is going to be an Irish, and it is one of my favorite sweet Irish. So I'm waiting for the end because after these little aggressive drams, it seems that much more sweet.
Sure. Yes, Charles, you need to find that Teeling. The single grain is magic. End of the day, dude, if I can get it down under, you should be able to get it wherever you are.
That's true.
Yeah. We actually
the
have
selection over there is worse than it is here.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just... Anybody have this EHT rye at home? And if you do, how do you like it? I think it is one of the best American ryes. Oh, it's delicious. Dill bomb.
It is a tasty one. It's a little bit dilly for my personal
little
preference.
dilly for you.
But I understand that it is good. It's just not my profile.
I am heavily attracted to that dill note in ryes. It's something I just find super interesting.
So have you poached some salmon in the E.H. Taylor then?
I have not.
Get onto that.
I have not. I don't eat too much salmon these days, if at all. Mike, you need it. I can probably spare you a sample, buddy. I can probably spare you a sample. If you haven't had it, you definitely need to try it. It's a friggin' lotto item for us, so not super available, which is a bummer. Brad, do you remember that Michter's rye barrel strength we had at Spirit of Toronto?
Yes. Yeah.
That was probably the dilliest rye I've ever had.
Oh yeah, that was super super delicious.
It was like the bottom of a bag of dill pickled chips, all the crunched up like small chips with all the flavoring in it. Yeah, Trevor, that's good. If you see it and you don't have it or haven't had it, I would pick it up if you are a rye guy, Trevor Wilson. It is just stellar.
Over
Vito's
near
smack
the-
talking fish in the chat. Apparently, fish. He doesn't like fish. We're gonna have to take his mod powers away again.
I think so. Which is a shame because the Italians do such fantastic fish dishes.
They do. Very good seafood.
He's missing out.
Oh, this is just fantastic. Yeah, Vito does not like fish apparently at all in any capacity.
Yeah. Hey, Jason. Mash and Drum Jason's here.
Hey, welcome. This
Vito's the
57
kind of
North
guy
is
that-
just so smooth and wonderful. That brine gets me every time.
It is very nice. That Talisker tasting you put on at David's was spectacular.
That was a good time. It was
And a
fun.
really good that was my first probably my first real opportunity and experience with doing a whole range from one distillery.
Right.
And it was really interesting. That was really really fun for me. Aside from being with you guys, just having fun, enjoying some drams, it was actually I was making a point to really understand what was going on with those different. I asked a lot of questions, if you remember.
Yeah.
But that was really cool to see from one distillery all the different stuff that can come out there. Vic Placido, hey buddy, glad you could make it and stay up past your bedtime. I appreciate that, pal. Cheers, man.
I mean, it's past Dan's bedtime too. He stays up special just. For
It's past
us.
my bedtime. That's right.
Yeah, that Talisker tasting was fun because I got the chance to convince people that they actually did like Talisker Storm better than Talisker 10. And most people agreed with me after tasting them blind.
Yeah,
Not everybody, but there was a
absolutely.
few of them that were like, "Oh shit, the Storm is better."
Yeah. That was a great night. Really cool. Got to line up some more of those. Maybe I'll try my best to put on one from a less prestigious distillery.
Doesn't have to be fancy as long as it's fun variety. You know, it's
Well-
fun the group.
Dan is in Canada, as are the rest of the Canadistanis.
Yes.
You could do a cask strength gathering finally. I mean, I'm not going to show up; it's too far. But you know,
Come on, get up here.
Yeah.
it's like 10 Proclaimers distance away.
If
Easy.
if we come down there, I will never leave,
Kanakastani. Yeah.
and you would have to put me up in your house because I would never leave if I came down there.
Well, leave the house. I understand that the creatures are a little bit intimidating, but you can leave. It's perfectly safe. Like honest.
I spent a good portion of my life years ago trying to acquire stuff from Australia. I would be totally cool if I would sleep outside, and if a brown got me, a brown got me.
I would just be walking around with a flamethrower just in case. Like there would be no qualms. The only way is to kill it with fire, whatever it is.
I would be following you with a fire extinguisher
It's probably a good call.
and my camera.
depending on what time of year, you don't even need to follow with a fire extinguisher. It'll just set itself off. Like,
It's true.
So I'm sure this has been asked a million times, but I'm late to the game. Is there any Australian distilleries putting out whiskey?
there is. So I did an absolutely wonderful, glowing review of Starwood. They're twofold. It wasn't a glowing review; it was a bit bad.
True. I'll
But
make
Starwood,
sure that the link is in the description for people following this video after the fact.
so yeah, there is. So Starwood's probably the one that's easier for most people in the US to get a hold of at the moment. Sullivan's Cove is a fantastic dram. Hayers Road, Lime Burners, I think you can get in the US now. That's a WA distillery. McHenry's. There's a whole heap. So at the moment, we're still in the midst, distillery-wise, of a gin boom. So a lot of whiskey's not getting done. But it's what does get made is pretty damn good stuff. Just that there's not always a lot of it. Where I'm in the subtropics. There's zero whiskey distilling, just because too damn hot to age.
That was my next question. Is the climate having the effect of, a 3-year whiskey aging like a 15-year?
So it would depend on where you. So Tasmania, which is at the bottom end, and it looks like a female genitalia, that bit down the bottom, that is very much Scottish style in climate. So you get some fantastic whiskies in there. There's just not a very big market locally. There's not a lot of people that live there. So they don't make a lot of it. And subsequently, that's not a lot of a big name, so not a lot of distribution. WA is closer probably to Texas. It's a little bit drier, similar sort of cooler winters, warmer summers, whereas here we're just too stable and too hot humid-wise. It's just not viable. We have a fantastic wine region here, not far from where I am, actually. But in terms of whiskey, it's still very much, no one's made the risk. No one's taken that jump to try here. It'd be interesting if they do.
Yeah, you gotta get like someone doing things like Iron Root or Balcones or whatever, testing like super short aging and like different experiments of what they can do to actually incorporate the fact that it's extremely hot.
So there are a few,
instead of it being a problem.
Yeah, there are a few doing aged gins, not far from me. But Australia, we don't really drink a lot of non-run-of-the-mill whiskies either. So I'm in Queensland. The drink, the most popular beverage would probably be Bundaberg rum. So, a lot of rum gets consumed. And then you're looking at, mostly blended whiskies, vodkas. Gin is still the big thing being made at the moment. So, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. I learned something new every day.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love this. I could nose this forever.
I've still got the empty Dark Cove. I'm just going to go back to...
I got the Yugi empty.
Usually I just clean out my glass with water and drink it, but I had to go to the water bottle because I didn't want to waste that glass.
Yeah. Our bag would probably have to be the leader of stellar non-age statement. Every Ardbeg Day release that I'm aware of is non-age stated. Yeah?
Yeah. I think bar the very, very early lot of this latest distillery revival, where they were giving into the barrel at this day, bottled on this day sort of a thing. Other than those few things, yeah, everything else has been non-age statement in terms of committee release and everything.
Yep. Yeah, all the
Vic,
early releases and all that. They have some of the older stuff like the 21 and 23 and whatever, but the yearly stuff is, as far as I know, all non-HTML.
Vic, thanks for stopping by, buddy. Have a good night. Appreciate you showing up. Appreciate that. Cheers, man. Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
20 something are the only age statements.
they have a 17, and they have like there's a couple of like weird offshoot releases, but nothing in the anywhere near the core.
Yeah, like
range.
the very young,
almost-
still young, almost there.
Yeah, even those are non-age. They're going up to 10 years, but the individual ones are non-age statement.
Oh, okay, okay.
They just, I think the assumption is it's 10, 4, 6, and whatever, but
Yeah,
there's no real.
So that would.
I mean, when they reopened the distillery, so if you did the math of when it released, you could tell the ages, but it wasn't actually on the bottle.
And that would kind of be a way around earlier, Jeremy, when you were talking about how the age statement is a good way to explore and see how the different ages are affecting. You could kind of use that loophole and say, like, for example, still young, very young, almost there, getting there, right?
There's not that many distilleries that do that though. Like I beg that it is part of the hey, we're reopened, we're redoing stuff, come along for the journey to get to the end product sort of a deal. And that's something that they've not revisited again. But yeah, I'm just weird. I just like to see how different treatments have gone and tasting the same whiskey at the same age in different barrels or different finishes. That just tickles my fancy.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely adds another dimension to the experience.
And because I've had the privilege of having a lot of new make from different grains and stuff like that, like millet, sorghum, quinoa, and all of that sort of stuff, and they all taste incredibly different. And I've not had the option of or opportunity yet of tasting a lot of those that have been finished into a whiskey. But my God, just barley, new make barley, and what can happen with that is fantastic. New make corn and what can happen with that is fantastic. Yeah, I get really super excited about some of the new grains and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Mark at Still in Canada there, who is got a very beautiful and carefully planned out distillery opening soon. I think us lucky folks who know him are going to get to experience the same difference in new makes and all the different grains and stuff, and we'll eventually get to see how they progress and age and stuff, because he's a pretty awesome guy and he's pretty generous.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting to see how all of that works out. The distillery is looking amazing. So.
Yeah, and speaking of which, he says, "Hey guys, great to hang for a bit, but I'm bagged and have to get back to boiler tomorrow."
That's fair.
So he's got the boiler to move, and it weighs like 1,000,000 pounds, and he's just been working day and night. Him and his wife Lisa setting that distillery up, and it does look fantastic. I've had the pleasure of seeing it go from blueprint to almost completion, and he's just doing a fantastic job, and I'm really excited to see what he's got in store for us, because he's got the passion big time, and I think he's going to be doing some really cool stuff. So
because Canada's kind of going through a really interesting time where obviously during Prohibition it was produce as much stuff as physically possible as we can to fill a market. So a lot of those efficiencies sort of came through, hence, the individual, grains getting blended together afterwards. You're getting all of those little quirks and stuff like that. But there seems to be, for the last 10 to 15 years, this big renaissance of the art form behind it. It's less of a Let's just get this shit pumped out. Yep, this product is drinkable. Put it in a bottle and sell it for the whatever the market will take.
Right.
Which is fantastic to watch because it's obviously very different from a lot of the US distilleries where they don't have the ability to make copious amounts of alcohol to just make alcohol. They're looking at the best way to get a finished product, so they're coming at it completely different angles. And then of course the Scots have got so much tradition that when you start messing with the base recipe, it starts to throw people up in arms, and some people are excited and some people are like a bit dish. So it's kind of
big time.
Yeah,
It's
so
very
everyone
interesting to
says
see all of the experiments that are starting to show up now that people seem to care.
Yeah, and even on the end of the higher production, like Dr. Don Livermore, for Corby Spirits, who is Wiser's, Lot 40, Pike Creek, with a lot of the rare cask series and like the Lot 40 cask strength and like the 35 Wisers, and I'm just looking at the Season Oak, the dissertation that Brad's having. It falls into, I have a general rule that is to avoid Canadians bottled at 40%. And while there are some nice ones out there, this is just a general rule. And of course, taste is subjective, but the 40% Canadians are the ones that you were talking about. Make as much as you can, put it to the bare legal minimum, call it Canadian rye, shove it out, and make as much as you can. But with a lot of these other releases that are bottled at 50% and higher, high 40s, and with decimal points, and that there's been some love put into it, and it's truly a taste and enjoyment before production. And there are a lot of different distillers and blenders that are involved in this movement, but I think Dr. Don is a big influence on the more love, less production in Canadian whiskey.
Because it was go for high yield alcohol content for a long time. Is that correct? Like high yield in terms of, here's a 1,000 pounds of raw product. Let's aim to make 500 liters of finished alcohol, versus like the Scotch style where there's very, very little waste, and they're willing to take the time to get there.
Right.
It
was just flood the market as much as possible, and
Yeah.
a lot of the lower end Canadian stuff is the only stuff has wide distribution, like in the U.S. and all that, which is a much bigger market than the Canadian market, just population wise. So they just need to pump out as much as they possibly can. Otherwise, they just wouldn't have enough to fill the shelves in the U.S.
It gets cold up north. You need to keep those boys in, alcohol.
That's true.
Yeah, keeps the bears away or something, I hear.
Sure. It keeps you not caring about the bears.
There you go. At least you don't have to worry about spiders and snakes at a certain point.
Yeah. So yeah, we managed to fill more than an hour.
Yep.
I think that's pretty good. What do you say we call it?
Let's call her a night.
Yep. Vito should be back for the next one, so I can go back to mod duties. So
We'll see. So you've lost your chance to mess around in the chat because Jeremy's going to be back next time. So
Yep.
it's too late now.
Oh, look.
All right. Well,
thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks for showing up, everyone.
In, like, subscribe, all that if you feel like it, or don't. Whatever. Comment if you feel like it. I'll try to make sure to remember to put that link to Jeremy's Starwood review in the description because I know he just needs more subscribers on that.
Or just the sneezing puppy. That's the one that you need to direct people to.
I'll link to the sneezing puppy instead.
Yeah.
And
get the subscribers.
A very quick but important reminder for the beta version of Ask Brad.
Oh yes, tomorrow night at 10 Eastern. I'm going to be streaming research and or answers to whatever questions people emailed me. Some of them are actual questions that probably have an answer that I can find, and some of them aren't. So we'll see how that goes.
So that's ask Brad at thecaskstrengthshow.com.
Just Cask Strength Show. Yeah, ask Brad at caskstrengthshow.com.
All right,
Or
there
if
we
you
go.
find us on Facebook, there's a post about it. You can put them there too, and I'll copy them over. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's
And
going to be a good time. Hopefully.
yep.
Either way, I'll be
And-
drinking heavily, so it'll be interesting.
Which is always good.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, Vito just dropped the address in the chat there. So if you have questions, you have a little less than a day now to get them in.
And if you haven't already, go over to Texas Whiskey Life and give Josh a big happy birthday, Ginger Bear, which I think we mentioned at the beginning. And that's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Cheers.
Sláinte.